How do we bet the Bills, the Bengals, the Browns, and the Seahawks? Teddy Covers and I are going to take apart those 4 teams in NFL Marketplace Part 1, plus so much more. College football, college basketball, Dave Sharapan. But before we get into that, welcome everyone to WagerTalk Today, the best daily sports betting show on the planet, and our first guest, our number one college hoops expert from last season and our $2 Tuesday handicapper. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Adam Trigger. I've never done that before, Ad. You got my first, as if I was an MC. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. I got home probably around 2 a.m., drove down to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania last night for Cornell Lehigh. It was a great game. 2 mid-majors. I would put a nice big circle around those as far as teams that'll probably make you money in the early part of the season, maybe even into conference play. They're both really good. I got a push with Lehigh +6. Hopefully a lot of people won with that because most probably got a better number, went off 7. But I was really impressed with both teams, and it was a great game.
So, Adam, you were the number one college hoops expert last year. You're the $2 Tuesday handicapper today, and you're off to a 2-0 start in college hoops already this season. Let's talk the first game on the card today. This is a little bit of an early start, 3:30 Pacific time, 6:30 Eastern time, Drexel and LaSalle. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. I'm seeing Drexel -2.5. There are a couple of threes popping up. Total 133.5. What do you want to do with this mid-major showdown?
So the way I would play it would be Drexel. It moved a little bit. I like this more when it was pick, when it was -1. As of right now, Teddy, I think I would just play a little bit smaller and play the Drexel money line. I really like Drexel this season. This is a third team, in addition to those 2 I just spoke about, that will probably make you some money in the early going. They have everyone back. 2-time defensive player of the year, Amari Williams, anchors that very veteran roster. They have a great coach in Zach Spiker. I think they could take a big step forward this year and contend in the Colonial, the conference that they play in. Defensively, they're going to be outstanding. I already mentioned Williams. He's an elite defensive player, can really just negate at the rim on his own. And they're as good of a 3-point defense as you are going to find in the country, certainly from a mid-major standpoint, maybe the best at running teams off the 3-point line and really forcing teams into either a mid-range type game or trying to go attack at the rim where you're going to run into Williams. But so neither of those things tends to end well, and Drexel's going to win a lot of games because of that. If their offense can take a step forward this year, forget it. They're going to be really, really good. That's, I think, the question mark for Drexel. I was really close to adding this to my client card. I guess the only reason I held back for making this, more than a strong lean, LaSalle, it looks like they're going to be bad. If you read a lot of these A10 previews, it's well known they lost the 2 Drames, Husseini and Hassan Drame. It's essentially their whole front court presence. But they have some very good veteran guards that could potentially keep them in this game. Because that's what you're going to have to do against Drexel. Probably try to, get into the paint a little bit, hit mid-range jumpers, and they've got a trio of guys that are upperclassmen that can do that. But I like this Drexel team so much more than LaSalle. I still think the Dragons are the better team. So on a night where there's not as many games, and I needed sort of a second best one, obviously the one I like best is the $2 Tuesday play. I went with Drexel money line. I just think that this team is going to be really good this year. LaSalle is going to have nothing on the inside, and I think it ultimately probably cost them the game here.
So, Adam, when you talk about betting the first week of college basketball, the first couple of games, how does that differ from later on? Is now a time that we're just looking to take advantage in a marketplace that may not have adjusted enough for how teams changed in the offseason? Or is this a spot where if you've done your homework, the plays just kind of jump at you? Talk about early season college hoops, the first week or two.
Oh, Teddy, 100%. It's if you've done your homework, the plays just kind of jump at you. I've kind of said this for a couple of years now, and specifically last year, I felt like the reason I had such a good season in the end was because I really just started focusing on a much smaller number of teams. You got 360 plus Division I college basketball teams. And I think the inexperienced, or just, I guess, the novice handicapper typically goes and tries to look at the board and goes game to game to game. And I think if you just slim it down a little bit, like I started to focus on the teams that I saw in person. But you could use a small conference, right? Like, let's say, I live up here in New York. So the MAC is a conference I've always followed, the Patriot League. And if you focus on those teams, especially the smaller conferences, you can find a nice edge. And so I think early in the season, I actually did a lot of this homework for you. I've been posting them every single day for the month of October. All the places that I went last year, you can find them on my Twitter, on Instagram. I think we're putting them up on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. I try to just slim it down, like 30, 40 teams, really focus on them and see, if I can. Usually I just know. I come into the season. Last night, perfect example. Marist was a team that I was high on, higher than most. Army, I knew they lost 4 starters, and I thought they might struggle this year. And it was as simple as that. I played Marist pick, and it worked out. It doesn't always work out, but that's kind of how I look at the beginning of the season. And then as we get a little bit of a sample size of this year, I start to sort of look at the numbers from this season.
Adam Trigger joining us, everybody. It is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk. Adam, you're the $2 Tuesday handicapper, and what do you have going for the clients?
Yeah, so I have my first 5% college basketball play of the season. It's a spot I've had circled for a couple of weeks. I knew that this was a play I wanted to make, and so it worked out that we're going to get the number that I wanted to make this play. Really good night last night. Like you said at the top, 2-0, Boston College and Marist, both blowout wins, and a lot of people probably won with Lehigh. I didn't think I was taking a bad number, Prez, but some of those extra board games, that doesn't take much to move it. I gave out Lehigh +6, and very shortly after that, it was 6.5 and 7 everywhere, pretty much. And wouldn't you know it, Prez, it lands 6 because that's just what happened. So I was in the building and I couldn't even will the free throw miss. I'm sitting there, trying to get that last free throw miss. Didn't work, landed 6, but still, so 2-0, and some people probably went 3-0. So I'm really happy with how that went, and I've got one I really like tonight, and it's only $2.
Great show ahead, guys. Stay with us all the way to the end. Adam is going to take apart the Ohio-Buffalo game. That goes tonight in college football. Bryan Power will be joining us. He's got a Champions League bet. And also we'll be looking at Texas Tech at Kansas. Teddy and I will be doing our marketplace segment, and Dave Sharapan will end the show. Adam, Ohio is on the road. They're playing tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It's -7.5 against Buffalo. How do we bet this game?
Yeah, President, you mentioned -7.5. If this goes to 7.5 pretty much everywhere, I may come back in and make Buffalo a client play. It's very close. I will go back. So last week, 5%er for me on Buffalo. Very unlucky, in my opinion, not to cover. I think it was like a masterclass by Mo Linguist, Buffalo coach, on how not to keep a game close, like how not to hang around in a game. It was just odd. I don't know if he felt like he had to play the perfect game to win, but Buffalo went 1 for 6 on 4th downs. There was multiple occasions, like still relatively early in the game, where he passed on like a very makeable field goal to go for it on like 4th and 8. One of them was 4th and goal. And of course, even in spite of all of that, Buffalo still got down there 1st and goal from like the 6th, final 2 minutes of the game, and couldn't punch in the sort of garbage touchdown for the cover. That was last week against Toledo. It cost me a big play there. But I was pretty impressed with how Buffalo rallied in that game. I mean, Toledo took the opening kick untouched right down the middle of the field. Untouched, 7-0 Toledo. Quickly went up 14-0. That was a snowy, sort of miserable night in Toledo. Buffalo could have easily packed it in, but they didn't. Their defense played fantastic, forced 4 turnovers, really gave them every chance to hang around and compete in that game. And it was just like missed field goal, go for it on 4th, not convert. Just a lot of stuff that sort of went against Buffalo. If you look at the stats, it was pretty even. And I would say very even after that, first sort of 6-7 minutes where they dug themselves a 14-0 hole. Buffalo tends to be pretty good in the home underdog role. If you look at them this year, they're 1-3 at home with three pretty bad home losses. The Fordham loss really sticks out as the bad one. But the one win was as an underdog against Central Michigan, and sort of, going off memory historically, just because this is a team that's somewhat local to me, I feel like they play well in the role of underdog at home, and now you're catching a touchdown here. It was a really big game for both teams. I mean, Buffalo, there's still a very nice path for them in the MAC if they were to come out and spring the upset in this game. Ohio, better record here. They're 6-3. It's been their defense that's been outstanding. Last game, defense wasn't that good, but you have to wonder if that was, maybe getting later in the season. They hadn't had their bye. They give up 30 to Miami of Ohio. It was their worst defensive performance of the year. So now they get a little, they get a bye week, but I don't know that that's Buffalo's path to success is just moving the ball and scoring on Ohio. I think it's going to be their defense, their ability to force takeaways. I referenced the 4 takeaways against Toledo last week. I just like that. I just like how this Buffalo team plays. I think they play hard. I think it could translate into a good effort at home tonight. And to me, that touchdown seems high. This got bet weird earlier. It was like bet down to 5.5, quickly shot back up. I think now if you get to 7.5, Prez, it's gone too far and the value would be on Buffalo.
Right. There we go. Adam Trigger joining us, everyone. Please take advantage of his $2 Tuesday play. Adam, thanks so much. We'll see you next week. Keep kicking ass. And we enjoy having you on. Teddy Covers. It's time for What Did Bettors Learn?
Well, we got to talk about what we saw on Monday Night Football last night. And particularly, I want to talk about Nathaniel Hackett today. We remember Nathaniel Hackett. He was the Broncos head coach last year. And the Broncos offense was an embarrassment in 2022. Cost him his job as head coach. But Robert Salle said, no, we'll give you another job. Yeah, you can be our offensive coordinator. This offense needs to be tuned for Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett apparently have a very close relationship. So what have we seen from the Jets? Well, they scored 8 offensive touchdowns this season. They managed 2 field goals last night against the NFL's 31st ranked pass defense. They ranked 30th in points per game. They ranked 31st in total yards per game. And yeah, there was unlucky stuff for the Jets last night. The number 1 special teams in the country, in the league, gave up a punt return touchdown and put them in a hole. There were 7 fumbles last night, 3 by the Chargers, 4 by the Jets. And the Chargers recovered 6 of those fumbles. So the fumble luck went for LA. The Jets did have more first downs than the Chargers. They had more yards. They had more yards per play last night. But then again, 3.5 yards per play versus 3.4 isn't what Jets fans or bettors were looking for. And you read the quotes coming out of the Jets locker room last night. They're frustrated. Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver. It's inexcusable, man. It's getting to the point where it's disappointing. I hate coming off the field, looking at our defense in the eyes and knowing we have to send them back out there after a 3 and out. Those boys are my dogs. They come out and ball. They put us in great position. It's time for us to start returning the favor, man. It's time. We've got to figure it out. Hackett's not going anywhere, all right? Aaron Rodgers and Hackett are buddies. And in theory, this is an offense designed for Aaron Rodgers, and it's supposed to work for him if he comes back, which means we should expect more of the same from the New York Jets moving forward. As long as the defense holds, this team is now officially the Iowa Hawkeyes of the NFL. By the way, the Hawkeyes total this week against Rutgers opened 28.5, 29, and we haven't seen a whole lot of over money. Jets under last night, 22-7 primetime unders so far this season. There you go, Prez. That's some of my thoughts of what we saw last night. Back to you.
Teddy, you and I didn't discuss what we were going to talk about in What Did Bettors Learn, given that I rarely talk about anything in What Did Bettors Learn. But at literally 15, 20 minutes before the show, I was writing my NFL presidential address, which I am taping tomorrow. And here's what I wrote. The Jets offense is a total disaster. And honestly, it's not all on Wilson. Wilson isn't great. But if you watch the game against the Chargers, he had no time to throw the ball. Mack and Bosa were all over him all game long. Even his turnovers were him getting pressured at 100 miles an hour. This is on the O-line, but more importantly, this is on Hackett. They have an amazing running back tandem, but they don't want to run the ball. They are pressured all game long, but they don't want to throw screens or quarterback draws. They have great wide receivers, but they're always running long. Nobody plays underneath. This offense is abysmal, and it's all on Hackett. They made no adjustments. They did not run the ball much, and the game plan made no sense to me. But hey, all I am is a cop doing a porno and hanging out with, that's my mustache, Teddy, a cop doing a porno.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Okay, good. Next year, you're growing that mustache, dude. Next year, it's your
Take the
turn
under.
for this. One of the guys just said in the chat room, I should trim this. Dude, if I'm going to be this ridiculous, I'm leaning into this. This ain't ever getting trimmed.
Yeah.
Frankly, I want to Rolly finger it. So, yeah, I'm with you, dude. The Jets are a mess, and I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, personally, for me.
The Jets' offense is a mess. Their defense has been dynamite, and they're a 500 team that still has everything in front of them. So they're not a mess.
Yeah.
The Jets are in trouble, but they're not a mess.
I'll take the over on a mess, and we'll see, dude. They won't, as you can hear already in my analysis, I like the Raiders for this coming Sunday. Bryan Power joining us, and Bryan is joining us with very little notice. Stepped in. Ronald Kabang had a family situation, so Ron texted me last night, couldn't make the show, and Bryan stepped in. Thanks, Bryan. Love having you on, bro.
Absolutely, Prez. Thank you for thinking of me in such drastic times, I suppose.
Well, listen, Merrill couldn't do it. Burns couldn't do it. Las Vegas Chris couldn't do it. Carmine didn't want to do it. I mean, you were the last man standing, bro.
Hey, that's what I'm here for, Prez. At least, you needed that middle spot. Here I am. What a fine mustache.
Well said. Champions League. Yeah. This game goes on Wednesday. Can I pronounce this? Galatasaray against Bayern Munich.
That's Galatasaray. Galatasaray is how you say it, and I'll tell you how to bet it here. Yes, it's in Turkey, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So Bayern Munich.
Learning some geography.
Even those of you who may not be that well versed in soccer, you've probably heard of Bayern Munich. Obviously, one of the top teams in the world, one of just 4 teams in the Champions League with a perfect record in the group stage. As a matter of fact, guys, you go back to 2017, Bayern Munich has not lost a group stage match in 37 tries. They've won the last 16. That's very good, even if you don't know soccer. I think it's pretty easy to understand. But we're getting 2 goals here with Galatasaray, Prez, and I think there's a good shot they stay within 1, and who knows, maybe even pull out the draw here. These sides did meet in Turkey 2 weeks ago in the reverse. Bayern wins 3-1, but they needed 2 late goals to do so. Galatasaray, they were the better side in the first half, no doubt about it. 16-3 edge in shots. Over the course of the whole match, they created 2.7 XG. That's expected goals for those unfamiliar. And you talk about XG, Galatasaray has the best expected goal difference in this group so far. Bayern, I look at them. I think they're fortunate that they've scored 9 times in the first 3 matches. They're sitting at just 4.9 XG. Their goal difference in these 3 matches, only +4. That's good, but it's not as good as the other 3-0 teams in the group stage like Man City and Barcelona. Bayern was even with Copenhagen, behind, as a matter of fact. Copenhagen scored first. They only beat Man U by a goal. And it's a bad spot for Bayern coming off the big rivalry win over the weekend against Borussia Dortmund. Prior to that, Bayern had suffered a terrible loss in the German Cup to a lower tier side. I know the Turkish Super League, not as strong as the Bundesliga, but Galatasaray, guys, domestically, 10 wins, 1 draw. That's 31 out of a possible 33 points. They are an informed side. They beat Man U at Old Trafford. I think it's worth taking a shot with the 2 goals here. A draw, my goodness, Galatasaray would be head over heels. We don't need that. We just need them to stay within 1. And Galatasaray knows any points here would be huge for advancing to the round of 16. I'll take the 2 goals.
Galatasaray plus the 2 goals against Bayern Munich. That's Wednesday Champions League action from Bryan Power. let's talk a little college football Saturday action. Texas Tech at Kansas. And right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. I'm calling mostly 3.5s for Kansas at home. Total sitting in the 61 range. What do you want to do with the Jayhawks and the Red Raiders?
Well, last time I was on the show 2 weeks ago, gave out Kansas against Oklahoma. That worked out pretty well. All the Jayhawks did was pull out the outright upset. First win over Oklahoma since, I believe, 1998. It was the late 90s. So a huge win for them. Well, last week, unfortunately, I tried fading the Jayhawks in what I think everybody viewed as a letdown spot. That did not go so well. Credit to them. They came out really strong, led Iowa State. I really liked that spot, Teddy, because prior to that game, unranked home favorites, which is what Iowa State was, had gone 12-3 straight up when matched up against a top 25 opponent going back to last season. So if you like the trends and look at it that way, it seemed like it was a time to jump in and fade Kansas. Alas, it was not. Credit them for coming out sharp. No letdown off the Oklahoma win. They led 21-3, in fact, against Iowa State, even though they couldn't really run the ball, just 74 yards on 35 carries against the Cyclones. So I'm going to say maybe the letdown comes a week later. Kansas hosting Texas Tech here, laying over a field goal. And you look at Texas Tech's record, their results, and you're saying to yourself, what has this team done to deserve only, being such a short dog on the road? Well, I've got these teams power rated pretty evenly, and I don't think home field is worth 3 points anymore. Getting the hook, I think, is huge here with the Red Raiders. While they're 4-5, okay, let's go all the way back to week 2. I think a lot of us can remember this game against Oregon. Texas Tech should have beaten Oregon, or could have beaten Oregon in Lubbock. They were winning by double digits in the fourth quarter. One of those disgusting late pick sixes went against them and cost them the cover.
Thanks
They've also lost other games.
Brian.
I had it too.
Thank you, Brian.
I had Texas Tech in that one too. It was a horrible, horrible loss. But this is a team that when you look at their losses, okay, they have been up or within 3 in every loss but one, a game where they were -5 in turnovers against BYU. Moving forward, Texas Tech needs 2 wins in their final 3 games to get bowl eligible. After this, they're at home versus UCF. They close the regular season at Texas. They're probably not winning at Texas. They need this game to get bowl eligible. I think this is going to make my client card. We're still early in the week, but give me the 3.5 with the Red Raiders.
So when we start looking here in November at what a team has actually done, not what they could have done in week 2 in September, but what they actually have done this year, these are the wins Texas Tech has this season. They have Tarleton State, Houston, Baylor, TCU. Not one of those teams has a winning record in conference. They're all 2-4 or worse. Not one of those teams is anything comparable to Kansas. What makes you think that this Red Raiders team is actually capable of not competing, but actually winning or losing by a field goal or less in a game against a quality foe?
First off, again, the situation plays a large role. I believe Kansas has Kansas State on deck, too. That also makes the situation, I believe. So that makes, I don't have that in front of me. So that makes the situation a little trickier for them. But it's also just trusting your numbers, Teddy. We all kind of handicap different ways. I have numbers, and they say that these teams are basically even. And I'm going to trust that. And as you kind of go back and sift through the results, like I said, I know a lot of it's coulda, shoulda, woulda, and we're hand-waving things that went away. But Texas Tech is far better than its record. And Kansas, oh, by the way, they're not accustomed to this favorite role. I mentioned last week an underdog to an unranked Iowa State team. I believe Kansas has only been favored once in the last 5 games. What did they do that one time? They lost outright to Oklahoma State. Now, Oklahoma State is a team that's certainly gotten going. We didn't know they were as good back then as we do now. I don't know. I'm going to trust my numbers on this one, Teddy, and say Texas Tech, better than the record, and pretty comparable to Kansas, and more than capable of springing an outright upset here. Plus 3.5 seems pretty attractive.
You guys are watching Wager Talk today. Bryan Power with us, exclusive handicapper at WagerTalk.com. Bri, what do you have to promote for the clients?
Yeah, we talked Champions League earlier. Soccer has been incredible this season, guys. Number 1 in soccer win percentage at WagerTalk. Number 1 in ROI as well. Had a nice plus 120 winner. Monday on the pitch. We're coming back today. Just a couple hours left to get this one. My Champions League game of the week, also plus money. So hop on that now while the getting's good. We'll have some college basketball tonight. Of course, those plays, single game packages half off here at WagerTalk. So take advantage of that. And then we'll be breaking down the football card even more, have some NFL and college up for the weekend. We were red hot going into the weekend, guys. 26-12-1 run. Saturday and Sunday did not go my way, but it was a nice bounce back last night, going 4-2, including the under on Monday Night Football. So ready to rip again. Have a big week.
Bryan Power, everyone. Thanks for joining us, my friend. So much more still to come, guys. Teddy and my marketplace segment, Teddy's big game breakdown, Dave Sharapan, and if we get to 125 likes, you will have a daily presidential address, and I've got a lot. I love the hockey card tonight. Absolutely love the card. I also have a big night of betting ahead of me, 2 4% plays, and I don't have 4% plays very often. I have maybe 3 a week, and I got 2 tonight. 1 in college basketball, 1 in NHL. Teddy, it's time for your big game breakdown, brother.
Big game breakdown time. Let's talk Saturday night on Fox. Late night West Coast bailout special on national TV. Your Oregon and USC. And right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. I'm seeing Oregon minus 15, total 73.5. And these two teams are coming to this game with completely opposite mindsets and potentially value. USC covered minus 38 against Nevada week 1. They covered minus 28 against Stanford week 2. That was September 9th. That was their last point spread cover. They're 0-7 ATS since. This team has no betting bandwagon. Everyone saw Caleb Williams crying with his mom after the game last week, and that was their 3rd loss of the season. All their goals are gone. They can't win the title. They can't do anything. Alex Grinch get fired to DC. The defense allowed 40-plus 5 times in 6 games. The only one they didn't was Utah with the backup quarterback, and the Utes scored 34 in that ball game. They were 5-0 when they beat Notre Dame, or when they went to Notre Dame. They lost that game, and they haven't recovered. The only win since then, they were minus 10.5 against Cal. They won by 1, 50-49, because Cal went for 2 and didn't convert. The same Cal team that Oregon beat 63-19 last week. Ducks are the opposites of the Trojan. They've got a huge betting bandwagon. They're 8-1 against the spread. They only lost to Washington. No shame there. Of course, they both lost to Washington, Oregon by 3, USC by 10. So there's another common opponent that's worth noting. In general, I like to ride streaks. I'm not looking to back the 0-7 ATS team against the 8-1 ATS team. I want to ride the hot and fade the cold. There are exceptions to that, like a game like this, where the value here stands out on USC, plain and simple. So if I'm playing this game, I'm playing the Trojans plus the 15 points. That said, if I'm playing USC, I'm going to be watching the game early with a thought process. If I need to get off, I'm going to get off right away. If Oregon scores and USC punts, I would get off that bet right away. But I think there is legitimate value on the 0-7 ATS team against the 8-1 ATS team. USC doesn't have that betting bandwagon. Oregon does. Trojans plus the points. And there's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Lawrence.
Teddy, I went out for dinner last night with Carmine Bianco, and Ben Burns was in Toronto. We had a great dinner, and Carmine brought this game up. He said, I hadn't looked yet. And he said, what do you think the total is going to be? And I said, 79.5. Well, it's not. It's 73.5. You like the over in this game?
I think the over correlates with USC and the under correlates with over. If USC's offense doesn't work, the game's not going over and they're getting blown out.
Clearly.
But USC correlates with over. I like the Trojans. I was certainly looking that direction before I looked under. But guys, when you were talking about a game that you might have to hedge off of after you've bet it, it's easier to hedge off a side than try to hedge off a side total parlay.
Fair enough. Okay, brother, we're going to run Marketplace in the NFL all Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday throughout the NFL season. We're going to pick 4 games. We're going to talk about not necessarily buy or sell, Teddy. It's more about how do
We're not picking 4 games. We're talking about 4 teams.
Yes. Always ready to jump in. It's not necessarily buy or sell. You can talk about how you see these teams moving forward, how to bet them per se, etc. So let's start with the Buffalo Bills, a team that came into the season with a lot of swagger, ready to make a run for the Super Bowl, and just can't seem to get out of their own way right now. I blame Ken Dorsey and obviously their head coach for allowing Ken Dorsey to be around. I think their offense is one-dimensional at a high level, Teddy. I mean, it's Diggs or nobody. And unless they could find a way to stick to the run and to get Davis involved, I think they might struggle, continue to struggle. With that said, I think they're still going to make the playoffs, Teddy. I think this team's still going to make noise. And I'm also looking to bet on them.
So the Bills have failed to cover now 5 in a row.
Yeah.
This is a team with Super Bowl aspirations. This is a team that came into the season as one of the elites of the AFC. And all I've done is I haven't downgraded the Bills significantly, but a half point lower. Let's make them a half point lower. Buffalo's another half point. And you're right about their offensive weaknesses. All right, this team spent the entire offseason saying we're going to run the football this year. And what they had, the running backs, eight attempts for 24 yards last week.
It makes no sense.
They have not solved that problem. Coming in preseason, my notes on Buffalo were something's wrong with this team. Steph Diggs is their only weapon. And they showed for a couple of weeks that wasn't the case. They got hot. A bunch of other playmakers stepped up. But I'm not looking to buy Buffalo right now. They play Monday night this week at home against Denver. It's in theory a get-right spot. It could also be a crash and burn spot.
Yeah, Denver is playing much better ball. We're going to talk about them tomorrow, Teddy. Let's move
Denver
to the
off a bye, playing much better football. Let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. What do you think of them?
Well, I told you 2 weeks ago they were a bye team moving forward, and I was correct. And I don't think anything has changed. I think this team is coming together beautifully, and we saw this the last couple of years. Slow start. Now they've got their rhythm going. And this is a team that has the opposite problem of Buffalo. This is a team that's got a very well-balanced offense. Their defense is playing lights out. I think they are a bet to win the division. That's how high I am on them right now. You?
I mean, that division is loaded.
Yeah.
Cleveland, we're going to talk about Cleveland in a minute. We're not going to talk about Baltimore, but maybe we should. From a power rating standpoint, the Ravens right now are my top team in the AFC North. And I, too, came on, I forget what show it was. It might have been the opening line report, and talked about how Cincinnati had a huge buy sign on the Bengals. They win and cover again on Monday night. But Cincy's not a team that the markets are going to sleep on for very long.
Right.
All right. They're a high-profile team. They got plenty of national TV games. They did this last year. So I think your window with value for Cincinnati, limited. Not a team I think you'll be able to bet on consistently throughout the course of the season.
Teddy, the Browns, man, fascinating team. They held it together without Deshaun. He came back. They laid the smackdown on Arizona. They got a big game this weekend against Baltimore. That is for sure. And I like the Browns this weekend in Baltimore. A lot of points for this type of a game. I just don't know what to do with them as far as conceptually buying or selling. I feel like they're correct, if that makes sense.
So the Browns have some really elite defensive numbers this season.
You think?
Really elite defensive numbers. Well, Baltimore does too. That's why the line is where it is. I thought the line was too high last week for Baltimore against Seattle, and I couldn't have been more wrong in that game. Yeah. And that was, and just because a team dominated last week, well, whatever. We're not talking about Baltimore. That doesn't mean that you're like, all right, well, they're clearly what we thought they were, but Cleveland's defense is elite. Their offense isn't. All right. Their offense is still very much a work in progress. I would put Baltimore's offense ahead of them in the division. I would put Cincinnati's offense ahead of them in that division. And I'd be more inclined to look at unders for the Browns until I'm confident that offense will be able to move the ball up and down the field. That's my take on Cleveland. And then, of course, there's Seattle. I've got the Seahawks. I've got them over 8.5 wins for the clients this year. I think Seattle is good. I do not think they're great. And certainly I was a little bit shocked at how overwhelmed they were last week in Baltimore on the defensive side of the football. But Seattle's got a Geno Smith problem right now. And it's been on display for the better part of the last month. And if Geno Smith continues to play at a low level, Seattle ain't going anywhere. What do you think?
You said it, man. And unless they can find some rhythm on offense, this team's going nowhere, and their defense is not good enough to win games. So it's literally, they just can't seem to take advantage of their wide receivers, which creates, which allows the linebackers to move up and screws up their running game. Everything's out of whack right now for Seattle's offense. With that said, I think they get it together this week.
I couldn't disagree more. 2 weeks ago, they rallied from behind against the Browns defense. And Geno played great down the stretch. They marched the ball down the field and put it in.
But there's no consistency. We're talking from a betting perspective, and there's just no consistency. I can't bet teams that are going to light it up one week and absolutely stink the other week unless they let me know ahead of time.
Well, you catch that rhythm, and those are your favorite teams. Yeah. You know, I mean, you say I don't like the. I love teams that are consistently inconsistent when you get a rhythm, when you get a read on them.
Yes, fair
Those
enough.
are my absolute favorite teams because the market was like, oh, I don't know what they're going to do this week. You're like, no, this is what happens. They play good, they play bad, or they play too good and whatever it is whatever rhythm that you find, if you can read it, those might be the best bets you can make. Seattle's not that right now. I'm with you.
Dave Sharapan joining us, everyone, and we are going to run the show a little late. Let's get the likes up. Dave, how are you, man? Anaheim Ducks today. Team is rolling, brother. Out of the Blues, 6 in a row. They're scoring. They're a stone cold over team. I mean, you just bet them over regularly, you're going to do just fine.
That's good. Good to see you. Nice mustache. I'm thinking something else that I don't even want to say right now when I see you with the mustache, but November, it's for the right cause. It's a good thing. I got a little faux beard working, trying to keep it at least tolerable for November. We'll see. Theodore, good to see you as well. Yes, hockey, full slate. No basketball today. I heard you talking about the Ravens and the Browns. That's an interesting game. My friend Kevin down at the Circa told me I had to wear this. I had this one ready. He said, you got to talk about the Ravens, as the Ravens are probably the best team in the AFC right now. Would you guys agree or disagree? The Baltimore Ravens.
I put them number 2. I still have Kansas City as number 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Dave, I think when all's said and done, I think Cincinnati will be ahead of them. But listen, I'm not the biggest Baltimore Ravens fan, flat out. They're just inconsistent. They're 1 out of 4 games, Lamar Jackson lays an egg, and I never know which one of those games it's going to be. So I rarely bet on the Ravens anyway. They're really, really good. Let's go with it. Let's go with that. So are they the bet this week?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the numbers.
Oh, great. Come on the show, bring up the team, and then give us nothing.
Actionable info,
Thank you.
Prez.
I
have no actionable info. I have no actionable info today. I apologize.
Teddy?
I was going to text you and say I have no actionable info, and I don't wanted you to get mad at me, so I figured I'd show up on the show. But the numbers have been so good for people the last, like yesterday and Sunday. The people won. The books don't know anything right now. After the last couple weeks before that, all the favorites win. I think it was 11-2 or something straight up, 9-5 or something like that to the sides. Every game go under except 2. What's going on with the NFL? I don't know. So I don't have any strong opinions for them until I talk to all the experts all week. This has been my best year listening and learning from the experts all week, and then forming an opinion Saturday morning. It's been great.
Dave Sharapan at SportsBKConsig on Twitter. And Dave, if you don't have actionable info for us, let's do a little recap because I haven't talked to you since the end of baseball season.
I know.
Talk to me about the Rangers and the D-backs. How did the World Series go for the books? Did the books make money on that? Was Texas a good result, a bad result? And what do you make of the first odds that we're seeing for next year? Is Texas live? Is Arizona live? Or are either of those teams going to just go back to what they used to be?
It's tremendous what's going on with the baseball. The baseball was the lowest rated World Series, maybe ever in history. Nobody was watching it. It was the books, some of the best results that they've had in a long time as far as futures go, because none of the major teams were in it. And that's usually a pretty good thing. Now, there were some long odds on some World Series exactas, at least locally, that I know some people might have had. I know I had personally the best baseball postseason ever for myself with the Rangers beating the Diamondbacks.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was worked out really well. Worked out really well for me. Those prices they vary so much that there's opportunity there for you. So it was great. MLB Network's done for now. They're talking about the big award show. MLB award shows in Las Vegas. So hopefully we'll be able to do some work with them. Ohtani going somewhere is everybody's topic of discussion for the next.
It's coming to Toronto.
He's not coming to Toronto, Prez. He's not. I wish he was going to Pittsburgh. He's not going there either. The
Isn't that where people go to die?
The word on the street is the three West Coast teams options: Dodgers, Giants, Seattle. And there's actual legs to the Boston Red Sox rumor. I didn't think that was true, but apparently that's true. And then one of the teams in New York. I don't think it's the Mets, but somebody that I respect told me it's possible the guy empties the bank again for them. So that's where we're at with that. I don't know.
Let's talk a little college football.
Please, let's do that. Please.
Yeah, because certainly we have Maction, midweek Maction all this week. Now, do the books take a lot of action on these Maction games? Does it build as November progresses? It feels like with other conferences playing early week college football, Maction hasn't gotten the same traction this year that it has in years past, where everyone's talking about it. Would you agree with that? Disagree with that?
It has not. I was actually just texting, and I apologize for being a couple minutes late. I was texting with a couple guys that are running some places. What's the word, Teddy? Globally, like you like to say it.
Yeah.
And they said that yes, the midweek stuff. It might be more this week because everybody's account is flush after the NFL for the weekend. So maybe they'll get some more action on Ohio and Buffalo or Central and Western Mich, things like that. But no, I think the NBA not playing today will probably pump up the volume on today on college football. But generally, no, it's been one of those not ho-hum things, but way less than usual.
I loved your reaction to Teddy's Maction Traction. Excellent stuff, Dave Sharapan.
What about the hockey board today, Prez? You got to have at least
That's what I'm
two
going to bring
plays.
up. But before we discuss the hockey board, Dave, I want to ask you a question. So we are witnessing a historically bad team in hockey. The San Jose Sharks have not won a game. And not only have they not won a game, but they are getting absolutely annihilated. If you bet the team against them's team total over, you're going to cash more often than not. What is going on? What do we do with this team, Dave? I mean, are you here? Are people just walking in and just betting, their opponents on the puck line every day all over the world? Like, what do you, this? I've never seen anything like it.
We started this 2 weeks ago on Bostonian versus the book. Matt said, I'm betting against the Sharks on the puck line every game. He's 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 winners. And nice plus prices, too. Like the books, this is one of those ones that the books are steadfast, adamant about not overly adjusting because when it finally turns, they want to be right and they want to capitalize on it. But right now, it's a printing press. It's literally show up, bet the team on the puck line against them, see you in 3 hours, come and cash. And the last two games were not even close, 10-2, 10-1.
Yeah.
No sweat at all.
No sweat at all, betting against San Jose. How long does something like that continue, Dave? I mean, you just keep doing it?
I think you just keep riding until you lose like
Yeah.
2 or 3 in a row, right? Like you just because they are historically bad. They're I don't know who's tanking. I don't know what. They just don't. They're not competitive in any game. And when you watch the games, I watched the game Saturday night against the Penguins, and I was like, wow. And the
Yeah,
Penguins are a team that's struggling, right?
Yeah.
Prez, I mean,
It's a minor
That's-
league team.
it really is. It's this would be like in soccer, they would get relegated if
Yeah,
this
and
continues.
it's funny you said that. I said to Carm last night, I said, the league should just tell San Jose to come back next year. Go away, figure it out, come
It's
back
going to help
next year.
the teams in their division. That's the thing, though. Like, so when you start to look at teams in their
That's
division,
true.
get
Yeah.
futures and things like they're going to have pumped up points and records and things like that, and have home ice in divisional playoff games and all that other stuff that the other divisions aren't going to have. The teams that played them the most are going to benefit from it. I mean, there's a team like Vegas that's just ridiculous right now. They win all the time. Boston wins all the time. It's crazy.
Colorado, Dallas.
There's some good hockey games tonight.
But
Did you guys
Dave,
hear college basketball started today? I don't know if you heard. Did you hear?
Yesterday.
Well, I know, but like for real today.
so
There's
you
a lot
didn't
of
hear
nuts.
about it yesterday, Dave. You only heard about it this
I
morning.
can't even keep up with the Twitter feed. Like it just
Well, do you have a
blowing up.
college basketball bet for us?
Oh, Creighton. That's we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about them specifically. But that's a team. This is the best Creighton basketball team that I mean, Matt's been hyping this up. They're only laying 36 today. 36 against Florida A&M. So I don't know if you want to bet them today, but 30-1, 40-1, they're going to be at least to the Sweet 16, if not the Elite Eight like they were last year. So we're going to talk about Creighton all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, Dave gave you sorry, Teddy, one sec. Dave gave you guys some great info on betting the Sharks against the Sharks on the puck line. 9 out of 10, and I think you should continue to do that. And I just wanted to throw another at you guys.
Please.
Take who's ever playing the Oilers, team total over. But more importantly, Dave, this is going to be a bet that I'm going to start making regularly.
Ooh.
Whoever is playing the Oilers, take their goalie over on saves. That's
Why? Because they're getting
you'll-
shots on goal.
They're putting up 40 shots every single night, and they just can't seem to score. And the shot prop is 30 and a half.
It's the same number every day. The shot prop
Yeah.
is done pretty easily depending on the goalie. It's either 29, 30, or 31 and a half.
Right.
There's no
And
variance.
Edmonton puts
Doesn't
up
take
more
into
than that
account
every
the
game.
zone. Yeah. That's a
There
good
you go,
way to
Dave.
look at it.
Thanks for joining us, brother. What do you got to promote?
Bostonian versus the Book every day, Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern. Available on Sirius XM 159 and Sports Grid at night at 10 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern. Sports Grid, it's Sirius XM on the air, in-game live every day, 5 to 7 Pacific, 8 to 10. And no MLB Network, no more. Cash Considerations podcast every week, twice a week. Football. That's it, boys. We're out. Thanks for having me.
There you go, Dave Sharp and everyone. I'm seeing Adam Sandler tonight, or as Adam would put it, he's seeing the Prez. We got over 125 likes. It's time for your daily presidential address. I need my music back. Okay, guys, huge NHL card tonight. I got a bunch of bets I'm going to give out. Before I get into that, I got a big night for my clients. I rarely have 4% plays. I might have 3 or 4 a week. I have 2 tonight, 1 in college basketball and 1 in NHL. I had a winning NHL day yesterday. I'm going to go on a bit of a run, I feel, in NHL. So head over to WagerTalk, all 3 of those plays, because I have a 3% NHL play as well. All three of those packaged together. Grab them, please. Okay. So, right off the bat, I like the New York Islanders tonight, minus 110. They were minus 130 like 4 hours ago. So there's money coming in on Minnesota. They don't agree with me. I don't care. I like the New York Islanders minus 110. San Jose Sharks playing Philadelphia. Line is 6.5. Philadelphia could get 7 themselves. I don't know how you can't bet the over here. Take over in the San Jose Philadelphia game. I really, really like that play. I also like the under in the Winnipeg Jets and St. Louis game and the over in the Pittsburgh Anaheim game. There's 4 bets for you guys on the Daily Presidential Address. Teddy, I'm having a bagel with cream cheese today. Nothing special. I got an early dinner before Adam Sandler gets the chance to meet me, or at least wave at me while I'm in the audience. Take us home, bro.
Well, Lawrence, before I take us home, your nasty Q-tips just made an appearance on air as you were holding them in your hand as you were talking back and forth.
I don't have any Q-tips. This is just a sticker that was on the shirt. So
good.
No
I'm
Q-tips,
glad your nasty
just a
Q-tips
sticker.
didn't make anything on air. I need your help with this chat, guys. Just tell Lawrence to stop using Q-tips on air, please. That's going to wrap it for the Tuesday edition. We'll do it again tomorrow, same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and then, yeah, he does that all the time while someone else is on air, and that's what I'm looking at in his camera. Not pretty to watch. Between now and tomorrow's show, enjoy the games and best of luck with your week.